Alright, just to make you guys a quick video, so I'm in here doing the lower and upper intake manifold gaskets. I'm also doing brand new Bosch upgraded fuel injectors and fuel pressure regulator. So I'm going to make you guys a quick video of the inside of the bus. First time I've seen it since I started doing this, I was shocked at how new the inside of the bus is. The cam looks brand new. They either took really good care of this. It can't be a new engine because the outside of the engine is, has age to it. So they took really good care of this bus at that school district. But yeah, so when you're fitting these gaskets on here, they don't come like this. This piece right here, I actually cut with a razor. You cut it right there, so this blue notch can come in. What they tell you to do is put this rail on here and then lay this blue piece over the gray piece, and it kind of forms a hump right there. Everything else is perfectly smooth, and then you have this hump. And they say when you push down and torque down on the manifold that it'll smush it flat, and that's just not acceptable to me. Anytime I do a gasket, it has to be laying completely flat. Even though I'm going to put sealer in this corner anyways, all the corners get sealer. But I was going back and forth, like, should I cut the blue tab off and leave the gray, or should I cut a notch out of the gray and leave the blue? Ultimately, I decided to leave the side rail intact and cut this. So if you can see what I did is right there. Now normally it's solid and it sits right up against there, but it's just when you put it in like that, this blue tab sits on it. It's like 1/8 of an inch high. It's really high. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna do that and leave it like that. So when I just cut this notch out, and it fits absolutely perfect. It like fits like a puzzle piece. So now I'll go underneath here. This is the last of the test fitting, so I'm test fitting right now. Everything's done, the surface is prepared. I gotta take this off. I gotta rub the back side of it down with rubbing alcohol. And then I gotta wipe the rail down with rubbing alcohol on the back side of this gasket with denatured rubbing alcohol. And then put a dab of the right stuff underneath there. About the size of a lima bean. Right on both corner joints. And then also then you lay all the gaskets down, and then you put a little dab the size of a pea right on all this intersection area. Put a dab right there, and then a dab right there. And then when you push it down, you'll get a complete seal on the top and bottom, and then all of this will be sealed up perfectly. So that's where I'm at right now. As you can see, it looks great. A lot of work preparing the surfaces and things like that, but I'll show you guys over here. I got a giant mess over here. So yeah, this is the manifold that goes on top of it. It's all prepared, it's ready to go. Everything's ready to go. Did a lot of cleaning, sanding, you name it, I did it. Got all the bolts out. These bolts are for the lower manifold. They are all cleaned with the wire wheel, all the threads, and they have sat in denatured alcohol overnight after the wire wheel to get all the grease off. And the bolt holes inside there that they screw into also got thread chased, and then I rubbing alcohol cleaned those out, because you have to put a sealer on them because they go into the lifter gallery. Otherwise the oil will wick up the bolt and land inside the upper intake manifold. So these are all nuts and bolts for the engine. Here's the old injectors, and this is why I'm back inside the bus, because after everything put together, one of the injectors failed. Literally the next day an injector failed. So I was like, you know what, I'm taking it all back apart. I'm gonna do, not all back apart because I didn't have it down this far. I did the other parts of the engine. This is the part of the engine that I didn't do. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna finish the rest of this and just tear it down. So that's what ended up happening, but this is why. I mean, look at that. They're all like that. So the injectors failed. I ended up still in the process of cleaning the upper intake manifold. I was in here all night sanding and doing de-rusting the fuel rail. Put the new fuel pressure regulator in right here. The fuel rail is new, it's ready to go. I have right here is, reach in, right here is a whole bunch of brand new high quality Bosch injectors, heavy duty. These things are the real deal right here. So if you want your bus to run like, you know, stick of butter, these are the way to go. Way better than those crap that I pulled out of there. They're a little bit expensive, but you know, they're top of the line, so I will never have to replace them again. Yeah, so when you guys are doing the fuel rail, to avoid like anything, you can use a little bit of regular motor oil to lube up the O-rings. I use Still Glide. You can use whatever you want. You just put a tiny, not a glob on your finger, nothing. You would put it on your finger and just go like that back and forth, so your finger just has a coating on it. That's it. No globs or anything, and just go around the O-rings, top and bottom of the fuel injector, and then you take one of the fuel injectors after you have you know, lubed them up a little bit, and then just put them in and out of the fuel rail a whole bunch of times, every single hole. And then do the same thing with the lower intake manifold. Go in and out of the injector ports on there. And then that way, when you put everything together, you put all the fuel injectors, you put all the clips, you can drop the fuel injectors in and just push on the top of the rail with a little bit of force, and they'll slide right in like butter. So that's the way to do that. So that's where I'm at, guys. New fuel injectors, fuel pressure regulator, all new gaskets, and that should conclude the work on the bus for the engine work. I'm glad that I actually got to this point, because those gaskets on... Oh, let me show you that. Speaking of that. Also, I have the camshaft synchronizer down here, which is like a distributor. I have like a ton of photographs taken of it, because you can't turn the wheel, you can't turn the gear. You have to pull it out in one direction, and it has to go back in, and the gear on the bottom that goes into the camshaft and oil pump have to land at the exact same spot. If you pull this out without taking pictures or documenting what position it was in by making index points, you're screwed. You're gonna have to have someone with a scan tool come over and you know, reprogram your camshaft's position sensor, because it will not be synced with the crankshaft sensor, and your bus won't run. Your bus will, it might run if you're a tooth or two off, but it'll backfire. It'll run like shit. And there's no way to get around it. You have to use the scan tool to reprogram it, unless you pull it straight out. Remember the position that it was in, just in case you forget. Take pictures, and then you have to push it straight back down the hole on the lower intake manifold, and it has to, the gear has to catch the same exact teeth that it pulled out of, and then you have to push it all the way down, and this gear will spin a little bit while you're doing that. So you have to know the point that it was at when you started taking it out, and the point it landed at when it was fully removed, because this whole wheel on top spins a little bit. It spins like counterclockwise an inch when you pull it out. So just take note of that. Don't just if you decide to do what I'm doing and you don't know what you're doing, but you can probably get the job done, not knowing, then you just undo the one bolt that holds that in and just pull that out without knowing, that ruins your job right there, because you will not be able to put it back together yourself. You'll have to take it to the dealer. So just be careful and make sure you know what you're doing. Alright, so yeah, what was I going to show you? I just thought of something. I was going to show you something. I totally forgot what it was. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, so that's where it's at, though. The inside of the engine is really nice, really clean. Lifters all good, push rods all have the perfect amount of tension to them, no looseness, jiggling, nothing. They're all good, nothing's bent. So it was, you know, a good opportunity to get in here and have a peek. Once I start buttoning all this up, the last thing I'll do is I'll throw the new coils on there at the same time, and then this whole engine will pretty much be rebuilt at that point. The camshaft looks brand new. I took a microscope and looked at the piston walls. They still have the cross hashing on the cylinder walls, and the pistons look great. There's no carbon buildup or anything. This bus is like pretty much brand new, engine wise. So you know, doing your homework and checking out your bus before you make that purchase to build your skoolie, that's why it's so important, because you can end up with a bus where you open this up and it's chunks of sludge, and then you know at that point it's only a matter of time before your engine breaks and blows up, because it's just going to be clogged up everywhere. If you take the time to, you know, look at the bus and check the fluids and check if it's leaking or burning oil or anything like that. Before you purchase your bus, you'll end up with something like this that won't give you headaches, except for, you know, what I'm doing right now, basic repairs. And oh, that's what I was going to show you. I'm glad I did this, because even though the bus was running flawlessly and it was perfect in the beginning until that fuel injector broke, it wasn't leaking any coolant, it wasn't leaking any oil, but it was about to start. I caught it just in time. It would have happened to me while I was on the road. So you can see these are the old ones. I kind of cleaned this one off so I could line it up to my new one, but you can see the old ones were just blown out. There's garbage. See, this is all blown out. It was still sealing somewhat. I wasn't getting coolant inside the oil yet, but as you can see, it wouldn't have been long before that happened. Driving on the road cross country, I would have been broke down on the side of the road. And unfortunately, when you break down on the side of the road with something like this, you can't really just whip out your tools and do it right there. You're probably going to end up in a shop, regardless if you are a mechanic or not, because it's a job that takes way too long to do on the side of the road. There's a lot of parts that have to come off of this. So I'm glad that that fuel injector went out, because there's no way to check if these things were going bad. There's no way to check. The bus was good, like I said. The oil was spotless clean. The coolant was spotless clean. You know, there was nothing amiss with the bus that would have gave that symptom. So, you know, as I decided to pull it down, I was like, if I'm already this far taking the injectors off, I'm going to take off the lower intake manifold that they're bolted into. At that point, I already had all the wires taken off and harnesses disconnected. So, you know, that's what happened. Yeah. All right, guys.